Welcome everyone to That Kind of Nerds podcast, a weekly show where we tell you what is going on in the nerdy world. I am CJ Mellon, and it is just me this week. Brian just got done being the man of honor at a wedding, and as of today when I'm recording, it's his birthday, so he's got that going for him. Josh is in Chicago watching Hamilton right now, so be jealous of both of those guys, and don't be jealous of me. I just get out of a car, stuffed like a sardine for 12 hours, driving back from Myrtle Beach, but I knew it was important to talk to you about what's going on in the nerdy world. So we're going to have a quick one-on-one conversation. We're going to give you the headlines, a little bit of my hot takes, first impressions, and we'll let you go on with the rest of your day. So let's start off in the world of movies with some great news. J.J. Abrams is coming back to the Star Wars universe to direct Episode 9. If you listened to last week, we knew that the sky was falling because everything's wrong with Disney and Star Wars, and obviously we all said, hey, let's cool our jets. And let's be honest, J.J. Abrams coming back, that's great news for everybody. And if you're not on board with J.J. Abrams, come to our Facebook page, That Kind of Nerd. Talk to us. Let us talk you off the ledge and tell you why J.J. is a good guy for the Star Wars universe. Why this is good news for everybody. So get excited for Episode 9. Know that you're in good hands with J.J. Abrams. And let's just breathe a sigh of relief. Next, we need to go ahead and take a look at the world of comics. How it's affecting TV, how it's affecting movies, but most of all, how it's affecting you. It's time for Cape Talk. And because Brian's not here, I'm not going to play this song. We got to save that for Brian. So come back next week and we'll do that. But in the meantime, let's talk about this. David Harbour, right, has been slated to play HELLBOY, and we've got a couple things coming out of the movie. Number one, we got some pictures. First thing is, he looks just like HELLBOY, as the way he should. Out of the last movies with Ron Perlman, out of the comic book, exactly what you want. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. He looks fantastic. It's going to be a new rated R reboot, and I know a lot of people weren't asking for that. We liked the Ron Perlman one, and we just wanted a third, but this is okay. We're in good hands. If you don't know David Harbour, he was Sheriff Dumpster Fire on Stranger Things, as Josh would affectionately call him. And we finally got a release date for the movie, which is January 11th, 2019, so 1/11/19. Mark your calendars, 1/11/19. Rated R reboot of HELLBOY. Listen, if they can put this amount of time and effort into making him still look like the character, even though we're doing a rated R, even though we got a new guy, we still want to stay true to that character, that's a good sign for a movie. So let's check that out together, and let's, again, breathe a sigh of relief of what's going on in the world of movies. Now, we also seem to be getting casting news on the weekly about the DC streaming service and their flagship show, Titans. We got casting news as to two characters, Hawk and Dove. If you don't know who they are, a little bit of synopsis. They're a duo. Hawk is an aggressive bruiser, smash first, punch first, ask questions later. And Dove is a more strategic, defensive, cunning individual. And they play off each other, right? They're the yin and yang. They're a great duo together. And we got some good news. Now, the first thing is, MINKA Kelly is going to be playing Dove, and we don't really know her. She's a relatively unknown person, and as Brian and I have discussed many times, that's a good thing. Let's let these actors become the character and let them show off their skills so we're not distracted by actors and well-known name people popping in there and then having to convince us that they're the character. Now, in continuing on with that trend, we also got news that Alan Richardson is going to be playing Hawk. Now, I'm going to say a word that puts Brian into just dark rage, and he starts punching things that shouldn't be punched, and it's about the WB show Smallville. He made an appearance on Smallville as a bit character, I mean, really, in the reality of the whole series, and he played Aquaman. So you may know him. He was Aquaman in Smallville. Again, relatively unknown, hasn't been doing a whole lot since, so he's not going to be a distraction to the movie, to the TV show. And listen, if we continue to go ahead and cast, people that are kind of recognizable, but really can just become the characters, I'm probably going to have to pay another $10 a month for another streaming service so I can go ahead and watch this. So good news coming out of the Titans, and hey, DC, you may be getting $10 a month. Finally, we got to turn our attention to Marvel. We've been obviously talking about Inhumans for weeks now, just kind of tracking his progress to see how it's doing. And last week, there was some bad news coming out of that world in the review area, and it had a 0 on Rotten Tomatoes. It has since gone up to a 7. I know that doesn't sound like this is a great thing. This isn't exactly what you want to keep hearing. That's just how bad the reviews are. But we have to kind of slow down because a lot of people are just the reviewers seeing it. And even though fans love their projects, and even though they love shows, we don't always see it when they have these limited engagements in IMAX. So, for example, I love Doctor Who. And Day of the Doctor, the 50th anniversary, was coming out into theaters, and I didn't go. So just because there's low turnout doesn't mean that people aren't interested in this, and we haven't heard a lot of fan feedback based off of that IMAX experience. So listen, if this is a show that you're excited for, don't let 3 guys from Pennsylvania get you down. Don't let the people from Rotten Tomatoes get you down. Sit down on September 29th, right in front of your television set, go to ABC, make up your own mind. Tell us what you think after you see it. Were we just blowing this out of proportion? Were we doing the same thing that everyone else was doing? Or are there, merits to the argument that maybe this is not going to be a good show? Either way, make the decision for yourself. Take some time, September 29th, watch it on ABC. Tell us what you think about it. From time to time, I love to go on the internet and to find the obscure, the weird, and just some of the newsworthy things going on. And I ask for a tech perspective. And I want to start off with probably the weirdest headline I've ever read on the internet when it comes to kind of video game related stuff. And that is, there is a 24-player Super Mario 64 online edition available. And I gotta be honest, guys, I did a double take when I read this. Mario 64 obviously was like the flagship game from the Nintendo 64. It's beloved by all and hated by a lot too. It was really cool and innovative at the time that it came out, but once you go back to play it, the camera is awful and it's so blocky. But someone got together, right? A group of people got together from the darksideofgaming.com and a couple other people, and they've released a mod that lets you have 64 people playing it at the same time. That is just, 24 people playing it at the same time. 64 would be just outrageous. And the people that you can play as, the characters, they go all the way from, that's my dog saying hello, going from Mario to Waluigi. Listen, I'm a techie guy. I like to set things up and fiddle with them. There is just no way I can go ahead and set this up on the back end and get ready to connect 24 people to a game made in the 1990s. But I know a lot of other people are. If anyone were to set this up, I honestly would give it a try for maybe like 30 minutes or so until I realize that this is madness. 25 people are jumping around me, jumping on my heads and getting the coins and stuff that I want. And again, just dealing with the camera of Mario 64. But this is really cool that we can take a game that was beloved by a lot of people and bring it online and open it up to a kind of a community. Before MMOs were really taking over consoles or taking over the world, N64, Super Nintendo, that kind of stuff was what was around. So if you want to check this out, and listen, if you are willing to figure a way for us to go ahead and to play this, I'll gladly jump on and give you some of my time. Go to a link in the show notes and you can go ahead and see all the details as to how to get this to work. There's a great community talking about some glitches and things that they found and how to fix it. So if you want to invest the time, set it up. Hit us up on Twitter at That Kind of Nerd, or go to Facebook. Let us know how we can participate. I would love to try this out. 24 people online play Mario 64 at the same time in the same game, different characters. It's amazing what the internet can do. And finally, I would be remiss if I didn't talk about a small fruit company out of California unveiling some new products. And I'm, of course, talking about Apple. Apple brought out the iPhone 8 and the iPhone 10, and it asks a couple questions. Number one, we're going with X and calling it 10? Okay, cool. We'll let that happen. Secondly, what happened to 9? Where did 9 go? It's like Windows 9. Windows 9 doesn't exist. We went from Windows 8 to Windows 10. We're just doing the same thing on Apple. The iPhone 10 is the new phone, right? It's going to be edge-to-edge screen. It's got the notch. It looks at your face, and then it unlocks the phone. It's the freaky new phone. It looks awesome. The iPhone 8 is pretty much the iPhone 7 with a glass back and some bumped-up internals and stuff. And I can hear Josh yelling at me right now with the way that I'm talking about these products. And I'm not going to go into a whole rant about this. I'll probably get Josh's hot take on it next week. We'll spend a little bit of time. But here's a great PSA that I found on the internet that I know a couple of you will take notice of. I know a lot of you are not Apple fans, and that's fine. The three of us, Josh, me, and Brian, we are. But this PSA is very important. We know that the new iPhone 9 costs $999. But did you know that the entire Cracker Barrel menu costs $887.71? Make smart choices. If you're not an iPhone person, hey, it's a pretty good way to spend some cash. Who doesn't like hotcakes and some sausage? Now, listen, over the last couple of days, there's also been a lot of hate between iPhone owners and Android owners and Samsung and da-da-da. Listen, a lot of these phones and a lot of the features, we all just take from each other and what's available in the technology world. Some people like one, some like the other. The great news, the great thing about that kind of nerd and what we are is that we love all technology. So if you're on our Facebook page or you're talking to us on Twitter, listen, you can throw a little shade at one phone or the other. We'll bounce back every once in a while, but at the end of the day, we all have fun. So if you are a Samsung owner and you want to talk a little trash on it, let's hear what you got, right? And if you're an iPhone lover and you want to talk about what's great about it, we'll go on with that too. Just the fact that we can all sit down there, embrace technology, and say, man, we're coming a long way. Everything's looking good on both sides, and the world can only get better. That's a plus. So, listen, that's what I've got right now. That's what's going on in the nerdy world. J.J. Abrams is back in charge of Star Wars. We got some news coming out of HELLBOY. Titans, just man, it's looking better. Every week we're getting some new casting news, some new news out of that show. DC's probably going to get $10 from me. For the love of God, please, someone set up this Mario Online thing. Let me try it for 30 minutes. And, listen, the iPhone and Cracker Barrel got a lot in common. I didn't think that was a reality in the world. I want to thank you so much for making us your walk around your neighborhood or your drive to work. Talk to us here on Twitter at That Kind of Nerd or at Facebook. And we cannot wait to talk to you next week. All three of us, we're coming back to tell you what's going on in the nerdy world. See you guys next week.